What's up? It's Andy Six from Black Veil Brides, and you were listening to Iron City Rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the show from the band the Black Veil Brides, Andy Six. How are you doing today, Andy?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, we wanted to get in touch. You guys are coming in on your most current tour, October 21st. You're going to be playing the Altar Bar with William Control and Motionless in White. So we wanted to find out a little bit more about this kind of sensation that is kind of growing, especially on the internet, that is the Black Veil Bride. So we wanted to kind of find out a little bit more about you. You're originally from Cincinnati, is that correct?
Yeah, that's. I grew up in the northern Kentucky, southern Ohio area.
Okay.
Spent about 17 years there.
Okay. And what got you into music? Were you, you grew up in probably the 90s primarily.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I grew up and the things that were around in music at the time that I was growing up, I didn't really like or associate with.
Yeah.
I sort of, my influences all sort of pulled back to the times before that, and the things that, my dad had listened to, or things that I saw, obviously you watch, in VH1 or whatever when you're a kid and you see old school videos of these bands look cool and sound cool and have a much more rebellious streak than, the 90s rock bands, which were essentially just nothing. It was just like air. There's no rebellion. There was nothing interesting about it. So
certainly
I
no
think
image.
most of what influenced me came from 70s, 80s, that kind of thing.
Okay. And did you play an instrument growing up?
Yeah, I played bass a little bit when I was younger, but I think to me I was, for lack of a better way of describing it, I think I was always just a little bit too egotistical and didn't want to hold myself down to holding something. I just be able to prance around and make gestures and crazy faces.
Sure. So you moved out west, you said a couple of years ago. Was it around 2006 or so?
Yeah, I was about 17 when I moved out, and my parents supported it. They sort of knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I knew that it wasn't necessarily going to be easy when I first moved out to LA. But I felt like I followed my gut instincts in everything so far in my life, and I felt like that was the right move. And I had to do the living in my car for a little while and all that kind of stuff, but I think ultimately I knew that it was going to work out and in the way that it has. Yeah,
it's important to have those kind of stories about the car when you write your autobiography. So that's good to know.
Yeah. No, I have plenty of the fun stories about waking up every morning and going to 7-Eleven and scraping together some nickels to get some food and that kind of stuff. But I think that ultimately it sort of shapes who you are. I don't like to dwell too much on things that times that weren't necessarily great, because I feel like, a lot of people, it's sort of a cop-out. They want sympathy from people, and I think that we all go through hard times, whether it's because you're following your dream or just you're at your job of work. I think that everybody has difficulty in their life. And, far be it for me that was, in a band that's fun to give somebody a sob story, that was how difficult it was for me. I think more than anything, it just helped me find more strength in who I was.
Andy, one of the things with the Black Veil Brides that kind of strikes me right off from the name is some of the religious references. Do you want to talk about maybe how that influenced the band?
Certainly. I mean, the area that I grew up in was very much a Roman Catholic area, and I think that my family were all very much into Catholicism, and I very early on I liked the imagery of Catholicism. I personally don't really give a whole lot of credence to the religious end, and that's just more of a personal thing. But I think that the symbolism and the I guess sort of the passion behind Catholicism. I mean, obviously the Christian faith is full of different passion, and one can argue the parts that are misguided. But to me, I don't think that there's anything that's more there's so many rituals and things involved in Catholicism that I sort of liked the symbols. I liked the way that it was. I liked the devotion that its followers seemingly had, and I think that it worked really well for a rock and roll band. I think that at the end of the day, most of my lyrics and the things that anybody writes about, especially in American society, they're all based on, biblical parables and things. I mean, most of what we do in American society and the rules that we live by are all based, whether we like it or not, based on the Bible. And I think that, biblical metaphors and things like that they're pretty relatable, and I like the way that they sound, and obviously I like the imagery, and I think that the name was just sort of a natural fit.
Now, do you find yourself kind of scouring the Bible for lyrical ideas, or do you just kind of make the relationship once you come up with an idea?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I think that when I was younger, I read every translation of the Bible that I could. I sort of, in an odd way, I was sort of obsessed with it and wanting to know everything I could about the way I always felt was that if I wasn't going to believe in something, or I wasn't going to give my faith in something, I felt like I needed to know everything possible about it, and I think that that's true of anything in life. To write something off before you know what it is sort of stupid. And my family are all very religious, and I wanted to be able to learn on my own, and I think that, and I told my family that, and they from day one respected the fact that I didn't feel like I needed a faith to feel strong in myself. But I understood, after having read the Bible, and I understand a lot of why people feel like they need it, and why people do in fact genuinely believe it. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of people that use it for hate and exclusion and those kind of things. But I also very firmly believe that there are a lot of very devout, real religious people that use it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that interesting. I just heard not all that long ago a study they'd done that more atheists knew about the Bible than people who claim to be of a certain faith. So it's interesting to hear your take, and you're obviously very well read.
I think that would probably be true. But then again, I feel that a lot of atheists, it's sort of a cop-out. I feel like a lot of people that claim to be atheists are just people that don't really want to do the research, and they like telling other people that they're stupid. Mm-hmm. I meet just as many atheists that, complain about how it's the exclusion of the Christian religion, and then they're so quick to write off someone that believes in God as being stupid. And I think that, I'm just a person that, has done my research, and I feel like I've formed my beliefs or lack thereof based on things that I know in my heart or things that I've seen. And, I would never try to call someone that believes in something stupid. I think that there is certainly ignorance in religion, and I feel like those are the people that, the Jerry Falwells, the people that use religion as their hatred of anything and everything. But I couldn't look at my grandmother, who's gone to church every Sunday for 75 years, and say that she's an idiot for believing in something. Mm-hmm. I think that's just silly.
Yes. Kind of switching gears, the image of the band, and I guess this is switching gears, but it's not. One of the things that kind of first struck me when I saw you guys, and especially with your stage name, was a picture of the band that I saw that reminded me very much of Motley Crue during the Shout at the Devil era. Was that intentional, not intentional?
Definitely intentional. I mean, we sort of wear our influences on our sleeve, and I think that I kind of like it that way. I think that as a kid I really liked when, if I ever got to see a band that was modern and they gave some sort of life, we're not really guarded about the fact that we love Motley Crue and Kiss and Wasp and LA Guns and the Misfits and these other bands. But I think that ultimately those are the bands that shaped us, and we've made our own music and our own musical style. But we're always going to want to, kind of show off to the world what made us who we are, and I like that, and I think we'll continue to do that. I don't see that changing.
Yeah, I commend you for that. Can you describe how you guys kind of met up with Blasco and kind of the role he's played in the history of the band?
Yeah, Blasco came along, our booking agent at the time. We just signed with our booking agent, Ash Albertson, and we were in the office, and we just put out our first music video. Ash, he was saying that Blasco, who works in the same office building, is managing bands, and they had to show the video, and he said, and I wound up getting an email a couple days later from Blasco saying that he really enjoyed it and wanted to talk to me. He and I met up and had lunch, and I think that honestly, more than anything, he just truly seemed to understand what we were doing and what we wanted, and what we wanted to do with our careers. I mean, he seemed to really believe in us in a way that I hadn't really seen anyone apart from my parents, believe in us. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, the connection with him was pretty quick and pretty easy, and we never really had any issues. He's the man. He's always there for us. He's always got our backs, and we can always trust and believe in him. And it's a fantastic feeling. I know a lot of bands don't have that.
Yeah,
our whole team, all the way around, from our legal people to our management, everything it's just people that we really enjoy being around, and people that are working with us. Even when we couldn't necessarily afford to have them work with us, doing stuff out of sort of a labor of love to try to help us and believe in us and see something more in us.
And one of the things with your band that's kind of struck me, you're kind of on a new wave of social media that has just kind of peaked around the same time the band did. Do you want to talk about how important, especially YouTube and some of the other websites, have been for you?
I mean, yeah, certainly YouTube has been hugely influential in our success, and I would kind of be a fool to say it hasn't been. You know, a lot of bands are afraid to admit that the internet helps, you know.
Yeah.
But we certainly, YouTube and then Twitter and MySpace and these other things, they created who we are because it was a way of facilitating, you know, our career. And I could write a song sitting in my living room in Kentucky and send it to, you know, a kid in Australia via an online site. You know, can get it the next day. And that, to me, I think it's the most blatant example of how huge the internet is and how it can help so much if you use it the right way. And we sort of always saw these social networking sites and places like YouTube and everything else as a means of showing what we can do in a way that, you know, we probably couldn't otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the, you know, the strength of your videos on YouTube, and you consider there really isn't an avenue to get your videos played otherwise. You know, you're relying on podcasts.
You look at the fact that, you know, we just recently signed to the Universal Republic, RAVA, and, you know, things are moving very quickly for us in our career, and things are getting bigger. We're getting, you know, more mainstream recognition and radio play and all these other things. And that is a product of us making, you know, music videos. And our first video we made on almost no money in it. We literally put it up to try to show kids that, you know, what our band was all about. And it blew up, and, you know, we were able to afford to get signed, and we had budget for another video and then another one, and that's done really well. And I think that ultimately I can't really begin to describe the importance of you know, just these online media sites.
Yeah, let that be a lesson to up-and-coming bands. Now, the debut album, the full-length album, We Stitch These Wounds, obviously very strong showing in its first week, breaking the top 50 in the Billboard. Were you guys surprised at the success, or were you guys pretty well braced for that?
You know, I think that we were all very excited, but I think that the number one thing we all try to keep in our minds is that, you know, most of these accomplishments and these things, they're incredibly exciting, and they're ultimately, if you don't have real respect for who's getting those, you know, accomplishments for you, then they're fleeting. If you don't understand that the reason that's happening is because of the kids that are devoted to you, then ultimately it's probably never going to happen again. So, you know, we try to stay grounded in understanding that everything that we do in our career, we work very hard, but if it's not, you know, if the kids and a fan, they aren't interested, or they don't want to see what we have to offer and want to be a part of this, you know, family, so to speak, then we're just guys playing in a bar to nobody, you know, and that's not what we want, and I don't think it's what anyone wants. So we try to remain grounded in the sense that, you know, we like to expect these things because we know how strong our fan base is. We also, you know, you don't want to kind of spit in the fans of people spit in the face of fans, you know.
Right. Now, your upcoming tour, actually, you're on it now then with William Control and Motionless in White. Anything new in this leg of the tour?
Yeah, I mean, we're playing a few different songs that we haven't had a chance to play before. We're playing essentially the whole record on the road now, and you know, we've got a new drummer, and yeah, things are going well. I think that honestly, I can say that the last 2 nights we've sort of gotten back to the bus after the show and been like, wow, this is the best we've ever sounded, and it's a nice feeling to know that, you know, when you're on the road as much as we are, to know that you're still improving and things are getting better is a great feeling.
Yeah. All right. Well, Andy, I want to thank you for taking the time out while you're on the road to give us a talk, and we will see you when you get into the Altar Bar on October 21st, old converted church, so you guys will be right at home in there.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.